I'm Alex Michelson. This week, the issue is crime and punishment. With us, George Gascón, the LA County District Attorney facing a tough re-election battle. Then, the potential first gentleman of the U.S., Doug Emhoff, husband of Kamala Harris. And we're with the LA Rams as they deliver a major gift to the community. The issue is starts right now.
Broadcasting across California, you're watching The Issue Is.
One of the most watched local races in the country is the fight for LA County District Attorney. It features two candidates with very different views of crime and punishment. In 2020, LA County voters elected George Gascón as their DA with strong support from the Black Lives Matter movement. Gascón implemented significant changes on day one. Among them, an end to cash bail, a ban on prosecutors seeking sentencing enhancements, and a move away from prosecuting minors as adults. After a lot of public and private pushback, he moderated some of those stances. He is now running against independent Nathan Hochman, who is promising to be tougher on crime. Hochman ran for California Attorney General as a Republican 2 years ago. Recent polls show Hochman in the lead. We sat down with Gascón this week at the Hall of Justice in downtown LA for a rare one-on-one. Since it's an official government building, he's not legally allowed to discuss his campaign there. We spoke broadly about his approach to these issues and got a good sense of his worldview. Mr. District Attorney, good to see you. Welcome to The Issue Is.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us in your home today.
Absolutely. The people's home.
The people's home. So I usually will end an interview with this question, but I think it's fitting to start an interview with you with this question because there's so much said about you.
Yes.
What do you think is the biggest misconception about you?
I think that many people often think that I do not care about public safety, which is so contrary to the truth. The fact is that I have been involved in policing and, looking for community safety for 40 years. I go to bed thinking about public safety. I get up in the morning thinking about public safety. I care deeply about the safety of our community, and I live in the community, right? I have family, I have grandkids, so it's not like I'm some Martian that just drops in the morning to go to work and then goes someplace else. I live here.
Do you feel safe in LA County right now?
I do. I mean, when you look at where crime is heading in, the city of LA, and many of the cities around the county, you look at homicides, for instance, homicides are historic lows. Overall, the trends are promising. Having said that, look, any crime is always unacceptable. Any murder is unacceptable.
And I know you've thought deeply about sort of the way we've thought about criminal justice. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of folks that felt like in the 90s we went too far to the right, and then we pushed back, and some folks feel like we went too far to the left in the pushback of that. How do you think about that balance? Because there are folks that knew you, say in the 90s when you were an LAPD cop, that say that you're different now. What changed your philosophy?
Look, I mean, in the 1990s, I was very much a product of the moment, right? We were mass incarcerating people. We incarcerated a lot of people. We increased our rates of recidivism. We didn't necessarily create more safety, right? We were reacting to horrible increases in crime at that time. We're in a different place today. I've also matured. I'm in a different place. Frankly, I'm in a different place today than I was in 2018 or 2020 or 2022. And if I were to be reelected 2 or 3 years from now, I believe that it is critical for a leader, critical for a human being, to evolve and face the new conditions that they're facing, whatever they are.
So how have you evolved from, say, 2018 or 2020? What did you maybe get right at the beginning? What did you get wrong? What have you learned from it?
I think, for instance, organized retail theft, right? When I got elected, we were in the middle of COVID, right? And we started to see this evolution of this crime that wasn't, it was always there, but it was very different contextually than it did. We started thinking about conspiracy. We started thinking about other charges that normally we would not have thought about 4 or 5 years ago.
But in terms of some of the blanket policies that you started off with, you backed off on some of them. What are some of the lessons you've learned in terms of that?
Yeah, well, there were blanket policies in the office before I came in, right? The blanket policy before is always seek the maximum sentence, right? Always seek the maximum charging. And I came in and I said, we're not going to do that anymore. But we immediately started to adjust. And as my management team started to develop as well. So for instance, very early on, right, that we said we're not going to do enhancements with hate crimes, right? And there was a lot of people that said, George, this is a real concern for us because hate crimes are going up. Since 2016, hate crimes have just skyrocketed in the country. I recognize that, and we immediately unwound that and started alleging hate crimes. When it comes to guns, we adjusted on that, right? And we've now filed, we're averaging about 4,000 gun enhancement charges a year. We created a committee of people at the top of the organization to review cases where special circumstances was appropriate, and since then we have charged a lot of special circumstances cases. So it's the evolution, but it's also the adjustments we're growing into the place.
But you've also had some turmoil internally. There's been millions of dollars paid out in retaliation lawsuits. A lot of people that worked for you ended up running against you. Why are they wrong? What do you say to the critics that worked here against you?
Yeah, well, first of all, now millions of dollars have been paid off, right? Yeah. We have one judgment of $1.5 million that is being appealed. There are other lawsuits that are pending. But look, this is a lot of this is the product of, somebody that is coming from the outside with a mandate to do business differently than the way it was done before. We went as a state from having under 30,000 people in state prison in the early 1980s to having 170,000 people by 2014, right? And clearly the population did not grow that much.
What are you proudest of?
Look, first of all, I'm very proud of my family, right? So that I would tell you that my daughters, my kids, or my grandkids, I'm very, very proud of that. I'm also very proud of the fact that I feel very good about how I look at myself in the mirror in the morning or at night. But I'm giving it 100%.
What do you see when you look in the mirror?
I look at someone that tries very hard, someone that is very committed to the safety of our community. I look at someone that is human, makes mistakes, but I'm also very proud of the fact that I admit my mistakes and try to fix them and move on.
And how so?
In whatever.
I know one thing you're especially proud of is the process of getting people who were wrongfully convicted to be free. Yes. You've done that a lot. I know that's been a big effort for this office. Can you talk about that, why that's so important to you, and what that feels like to you when you see these men and women finally be free?
Well, look, when we convict the wrong person, there are several things that are occurring. Number one, you have the injustice of an innocent person going to prison. If you convict the wrong person, that means that the actual perpetrator, the one that caused the harm, is still out there, right? And we have seen this over. We had a case like Mr. Maurice Hastings. He was convicted of rape and murder. He did 38 years in prison. He consistently not only maintained his innocence, but he actually asked to have his DNA tested. This office told him that the DNA was not there to be tested. I came into office, we tested it, found the DNA, tested it. Not only was he not the person that committed the rape and murder, but the person that did went on to rape other women before he was caught, right? Had we got it right the first time, maybe we would have prevented other rapes, and nobody knows, right? We have, Mr. Solorio, right, who was convicted of a drive-by shooting in Whittier, right, at age 19, nearly 2 decades in prison. And now he's back with his family, and he's, now he walks around with his dog that he calls Freedom. That is something that touches your heart, touches my heart, because you see families that are coming together again.
A couple other issues that your office is dealing with. We talked a little bit about retail theft. Yeah. There's a lot of people that you talk to out on the streets who feel like you're not tough enough, and because of that you're encouraging some of this retail theft because they feel like there aren't consequences to crime. What do you say to all the people out there who feel scared and who are blaming you?
Yeah, first of all, look, I think when you look at our prosecutorial approach, over 100,000 serious crimes have been prosecuted. That's on par with a 10-year average for this office for the last 3 years. You look at our conviction rate, let's say organized retail theft, 89%, as opposed to 64% conviction rate before I came into office. When you look at the sentencing, people are going to prison for some of these crimes. And I understand the frustration. And unfortunately, we're at a moment in our history where there are multiple competing assessment of what the facts are.
And we end with something called personal issues, which is fun. This is our rapid fire game of the first thing that comes to mind to get to know your cultural favorites, so we get to know a little bit more about you. So here we go.
All right.
What's your favorite TV show?
I'm boring, okay? So a lot of the TV that I watch is like news. I'm a news junkie.
Love that.
My wife is into training our puppy more and more, so I'm being forced now to look at puppy training shows.
Okay, Cesar Millan. What's your favorite movie of all time?
The first Top Gun.
Okay.
Not the second. And the second one, I know that the second one was great, but the first one was just that the technology and all the stuff. Yeah, I thought it was just so
Need
great.
for Speed, baby. What's your favorite sports team?
Well, you know, if I were not to say the Dodgers here, I'd probably get going. But they are.
Yeah, okay. You run the Giants. We would, your consultant would be coming after me. And lastly, who is your role model?
Yeah, you know, my father.
Why is that?
He was a man of his word. If I'm doing business with you, we shake our hand, and I expect you to do your part, and I do mine. And if you don't, then you broke that bond.
What do you think he would think of you as DA?
I think he was very proud of me.
Yeah.
He would not always agree with me. You know, he was a very Republican in his thinking, so there would be certain things that he would not. But I think he was very proud of me.
All right. Well, we think of him tonight, and thank you so much for taking time.
My pleasure.
To get to know you a little bit better. DA George Gascón, great to see you.
Thank you so much. Great to see you too.
You can listen to our complete, nearly 30-minute long conversation with Gascón in podcast form by searching for The Issue Is wherever you stream, or you can watch it at youtube.com/Elex Michelson, where you can see our complete archive of content. Up next, the second gentleman of the U.S., Doug Emhoff. Stay with us. A new poll from PPIC shows 60% of California voters want Kamala Harris for president, Donald Trump at just 29%. Of course, Harris and her husband, Doug Emhoff, call California home when they're not in D.C.
Tom and I, my wife. I love saying it.
That's Harris's husband, Doug Emhoff, in Philly, warming up the crowd on debate day there. The nation now paying a lot closer attention to him as he hopes to become the country's first ever first gentleman. Now, we've been interviewing Emhoff for years here on The Issue Is. This week, we want to bring you a previously unaired interview we did with him in June. Emhoff was visiting the women's professional soccer team, Angel City FC, at their practice facility in Thousand Oaks. It was just days before the Biden-Trump debate that changed everything. This appearance close to our shared hometown. Always great to see you. Welcome back to The Issue Is. So you and I both went to Agora High School, literally just down the road from here. What does it mean for you to be here?
You and I have talked about what it means for me to come home, but this is literally like coming home to my backyard, and it's very special. I've been traveling a lot, as you know, all around the country, especially now, and to be able to come back home to do an event like this with Angel City FC, talk about pay equity, gender equity, and how we can support our elite athletes in women's sports, and it's good for them, but it's also good for all of us.
Yeah, I mean, this has been a big issue for you. You've traveled all over the country talking about this. You went with the Women's World Cup team for this. Why this issue of all issues?
Being the first man in this role and someone who took a big step back from a career as an entertainment lawyer to support our first woman vice president, I wanted to find issues that I could move the needle on. I really thought that this was, and it turned out to be true. And I also love sports, and as we know, sports brings us all together. So to combine all those things into one is very compelling, and to center it around women in sports, equality, and it's not just pay, it's childcare, it's family leave, and in sports it's also facilities and travel and training and all those things that elite athletes need, and that's all in play here, no pun intended, on some of these issues we're talking about.
Yeah, and a beautiful facility that we're looking at here.
This is great.
Another big issue that you have talked about so much is anti-Semitism, and you think about how when we first talked a few years ago at Shoah, how that issue has just exploded ever since.
It's a crisis.
What do you think is going on? Because you've thought deeply about this issue, you've talked to people all over the country. Why is there so much anti-Semitism right now?
We know it's been there, it's always been there. As you know, we came out with the first ever national strategy to counter anti-Semitism back in May of 2023, all before October 7th. October 7th just supercharged the hate. I've called it a crisis of anti-Semitism. We see it on our campuses, at our markets, places of worship, online. And it's just kind of ripped the lid off it. And we all have to come together. It's a poison on our democracy. All of us need to know that this anti-Semitism, this hate, is dangerous for all of us. So whether you're Jewish or not, we all need to come together and fight back against it, not just through words, but through action.
You know, this was not necessarily the issue for you as an Agora kid,
Right.
but it's sort of found you, right, being in this job. Can you talk about what that's been like for you and the responsibility you probably feel in this job?
Yeah, growing up out here, kid from Agora, went to CSUN, then USC Law School. Never thought that this would be where I'd wind up, but I'm a Jewish person. And as a Jewish person, I'm the first Jewish person ever to be a White House principal. And I take that very seriously. I feel very accountable. So from day one, and with Kamala, Vice President's urging, she's really the one who's continued to push me in, saying you have to use your voice. And Elex, some days, especially since October 7th, I don't want to do it. It's hard. I'm still processing my own rage and anger about what happened on October 7th. I'm still thinking about those hostages, and I'm still thinking about the conflict that needs to come to an end that's affecting everyone.
Right.
And so there's some days I don't want to do it, but I have to. And the Vice President and President have been great of urging me on to continue to do it.
And just to wrap things up, I mean, how has this job changed you? We've seen you over the years, and it seems like you're even more visible now. How do you think that you've changed in this role?
Well, I've tried not to. It's funny when I see some of my old friends, and they'll say, you're still you. So I try to still be my true, authentic self, because that's what actually Dr. Biden told me almost day one when I said, hey, any advice? She said, look, you just got to be you. But I've seen so much now. I've traveled our great nation that we all love so much. I've traveled internationally. And to grow up right here, like in this neighborhood, to be able to say that and see the world and see our country and it's all of its glory and all of its beauty, I have changed. I mean, I've changed for the better. I mean, it's just, I love our country. I'm so honored to be in this role and to support the President and Vice President as second gentleman. I'm so proud of Kamala as her husband. She's doing great to just her home state. She's doing us so proud. So yeah, excited about the future.
Always great to see you. Go
You too,
Chargers,
my friend.
Go Matadors, go Trojans, go Lakers,
Lakers,
all
go
the
Rams,
things.
go
the Rams,
Dodgers,
all of it. Great to
Good to
see
see you,
you.
buddy.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. And go Angel City.
And
Jesus.
Angel City,
Yes,
layup.
yes,
Total
yes,
layup.
of
Go
course.
Angel
Yes,
City.
yes. Thank you so much. Speaking of LA teams, we talk with Rams star Quentin Lake as the Rams get involved in a great community project up next. And a reminder, you can watch all of our past episodes for free anytime on the Tubi streaming platform.
Oh, good catch! Good catch! Hit your dance.
LA Rams safety Quentin Lake can't help but dance as the team unveils a new field at Nickerson Gardens.
1, 2, 3.
It's a big change from this dirt field at LA's largest housing project.
They giving us respect of putting the field in the Nickerson Gardens.
This field has come a long way to end up here in Nickerson Gardens.
They originally installed it on Hermosa Beach for a special draft event,
What up, man? How you doing?
but it's now being repurposed for this community in need.
It just makes other people who never got the chance to play get the chance and they get the opportunity.
We sit down with Lake, a SoCal native. He's the son of NFL linebacker Carnell Lake. Like his dad, Quentin attended UCLA. And Quentin has become one of the Rams' most active community servants. From building homes to handing out food, he especially loves interacting with kids.
Why was it important for you to be out here today?
I think it's important just to give these kids and the community, a face to look up to. It's important for us as football players to use our platform to show these kids and show everybody that, they have somebody in their community, somebody on the Rams that they can interact with. We're these superheroes to them, but at the same time, we view ourselves as regular people that can interact, have fun, and enjoy the game that we love and share the experiences that we have with everybody else.
We called this special athletes who serve. What does service mean to you?
Service is, to me, it's an obligation. To me, it is, but it's an obligation that I feel proud to do. Whether that's doing school drives, whether that's coming out and, enjoying the game of football that I love with these kids. It's to me, it's humbling.
And you know, we look around here. There's a lot of poverty here. I mean, Nickerson's Garden is a housing project. Is there sort of a unifying thing about sports, about the meritocracy of sports, and about sports that can kind of lift people up?
At the end of the day, everybody loves running around, throwing the football, shooting the basketball. So to me, it's like there's something in common with that, and there's experiences and moments that we can share all together. So it really is a blessing to be able to come out here and have a common experience that we all share.
Bottom line message you want everybody to take away from this story, from your story?
We are nothing without the people that support us and the people that cheer us on each and every Sunday. So thank you for the fans. Thank you to the people that support us. Thank you to everyone that supports us. And it's really a blessing to have the support system that we do.
You're easy to root for. I'm rooting for the Rams anyways, but you're great. What an incredible spokesperson.
Thank you so much.
Well done. Up next, the West Wing turns 25 at the actual West Wing.
There's a promise that I ask everyone who works here to make. Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful and committed citizens can change the world. Do you know why?
It's the only thing that ever has.
With scenes like that, the West Wing has inspired generations to focus on politics. It certainly inspired me. The West Wing is now marking 25 years since it debuted on NBC, with a special celebration at the actual White House. First Lady Jill Biden hosting the cast and crew this week to honor their contribution to democracy. So we end this week with the blurring of life and art. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week with What's Next?
We are rightly called to find something in our lives worth fighting for, something deeply personal and uncompromising, something that can unite the will of the Spirit with the work of the flesh. And when we find that, we will discover fire for the second time.